You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. This episode of Coffee with Graeme is brought to you by 5 great sponsors in Toby Hockey, Case Financial Group, Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy, Evolve Green, and AETI. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday morning so far. Hopefully you guys are ready to tune in and sit down, relax, watch some good old Coffee with Graeme. If you guys have noticed the background, you notice that I'm not using the usual background here. I'm actually using the green screen. I know that a while back I said that I'd be using the green screen, and used it once on Seth's Inside Scoop at one point, but never really got around to using it again. It was due to just the lighting not being good enough in my basement. But Glenn Munford, owner, boss here at ASTV Productions, went out and bought me a light. So now I got that, and the green screen is looking pretty good. If you guys enjoy the new look of the background, the green screen that we're using here on Coffee with Graeme, be sure to leave your feedback, leave your thoughts in the comments. But 3 guests are going to be joining today's edition of the show. Starting off to join today's edition of Coffee with Graeme is going to be MFHL President Brad Kirk. Brad is going to be talking to me about just the return of female AAA hockey here in the MFHL in Manitoba, the excitement around the league, the challenges the league has faced, and some more stuff as well. We're also going to get into the Western Regional Women's U18 Championship that was held in Portage La Prairie back in November, and talk about how huge that was for Manitoba to have a chance to host a tournament like that. So without further ado, let's run the intro of Coffee with Graeme and bring on President of the MFHL, Brad Kirk, on this edition of Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. And there he is, Brad Kirk, president of the MFHL. Brad, it has been quite a while since I last talked to you. It's awesome to have you on the show again. I know you've been super busy. What's the schedule been like? How busy have you truly been at this point in the year with just the calendar year 2021 winding down?
Yeah, no, it has been quite a start to the season, and lots of things. Nice to see all the teams back out there, and but also just work and other stuff that kind of gets in the way as well. So it's been a busy couple of months, but wonderful to see everybody up and running and moving along really without a hitch so far in our season.
No doubt about it. Many teams have traveled to places to play tournaments this year, which has been awesome. In terms of the regular season, 116 total games have been played so far, which is just awesome to see compared to last season where we were at this time in 2020. Just knowing that in 2021, you've been able to have so many regular season games played. Of course, all 8 teams returned as well. How huge was that to have all 8 teams return once again, having no problems there?
Yeah, no, it was, and we kind of expected it. I mean, we didn't, it's always, are you going to have Norman? Sometimes is the one. Is there going to be enough girls from the north to make a 9th team? But they have their own challenges, outside of COVID, just, getting the numbers and then that kind of stuff for a ninth team. But, having the eight teams is pretty much a stable amount of teams, and, fairly consistent in those numbers, and really don't expect anything in the future. We're, a lot of the players our teams are mobile enough, and ones that are attending tryouts, that if you're close to the city or close to another region, there's ways girls can move around in order to continue to play at this level. And so a lot of teams are able to beef up their rosters with out of region teams, which has been, the way we've operated for many years.
Yeah, and awesome that you guys are able to have that stable amount of teams once again. That good amount of 8 teams in the league, making it a pretty competitive league this year. We'll get into the competitiveness of the league in just a moment here, but just that excitement around the league of when the season started and how it's kept up at this point of just having the AAA game back here in Manitoba and the female hockey game.
Yeah, no, I think when we started, I guess it would be at the end of September, and really that first weekend and folks being able to play again. I mean, yes, it was great, with tryouts and that kind of stuff. And tryouts were a little unique, and in some cases you may not have had, the games that they would have in the past, and attending different events. But teams were able to make their cuts and move on, and have those teams. And really things started off with the showcase in Central Plains, in Portage. And that was kind of you really got a good look at all the teams at that point in time, and where things are going to lie, and who's the up and comers, and some of the characters that are within the team. So you had that, and then right off from that, the weekend after that. So we've, the teams have done a great job of getting themselves ready, and prepared, and really have that full stable of games every weekend, other than those weekends where we have a blackout weekend. So, for example, this past weekend with the event with Hockey Manitoba, that they have it more of a showcase event, and then when you did have the Westerns, we do allow some blackouts for that as well, to give the girls a chance to compete.
Yeah, and great that you guys have been able to do that, giving these girls an opportunity to compete in showcases and other tournaments. And, just talking about that before we get into the competitiveness of the league this year, like I said before, but just being able to have girls in this league, teams in this league, being able to travel to different places in the country, playing in showcases and tournaments that like the showcase in Central Plains earlier this year. How huge that's been to be able to have that opportunity for those girls to do those things once again this year.
Yeah, I think, I mean, whereas last year, I mean, we can always say that, yeah, the games were live streamed, right? Scouts can come out and watch games and that kind of stuff, but nothing beats actually going to some of these events and playing different teams. And in many cases, some of those colleges and universities are coming up to those events as well, and watching them in person, and seeing how they act on the ice, because you're always dependent on the camera angle, following the play, and sometimes you miss things that are going on. So I think getting that opportunity to showcase our girls, and looking for opportunities post our league and post grade 12, is that's how we get our girls in those programs, and into those other schools, and further their education.
Talking about the standings this year, a lot of good teams in the MFHL this season. I'm going to pull up the standings right now here, Brad. Just looking at it, 2 teams tied for first place in the league right now, the Westman Wildcats and Yellowhead Chiefs, both at 24 points. Then you got the Avros 1 point behind them at 23 points. The Winnipeg Ice in 4th place, 18 points. Pembina Valley, the Hawks, 14 points in 5th place. Central Plains, 11 points in 6th place. Eastman, 9 points in 7th place. And then Interlake, not a win this season. They're in last place. But just a competitive league, a league with lots of parity once again this year. As we've seen some upsets, like one notable one, Pembina Valley going out and beating the Yellowhead Chiefs at home earlier this year, a game that was seen on ASTV 6-2. Just how nice it's been to see this competitiveness and also parity at times in the league once again this year.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, even there, another example is Central Plains beating the Avros. And it's been years since they beat the Avros, so that sort of thing where you get those upsets. But sometimes it's not even upsets, or there may not be an upset. It may be still be a loss, but it may be a close game, right? We've had some barn burners. I think there was one, and I escapes me which one. It was a 7-6 game, right? A
That
real
was
goal fest.
Yellowhead and Pembina Valley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So things like that where you're getting these goal fests that are happening, and games could go either way and going into overtime and that. So and I think we've been lucky that there always has been. You are going to have some differences between the number 1 and the number 8 team, and that that just it's sort of the nature of how our province is structured, and how teams have to be formed in what that looks like. But you do have your moments, and you have members even within those teams that are doing well and moving on to the next level. And sometimes it's not about your record in the standings, but it's like, if you can get those girls exposure to something in a post secondary level, regardless of your place in the league, standing in the league. It's a win for the team, win for the girls, and win for our league.
yeah. And you spoke about having fans back in the stands earlier on in this interview. Just how huge that's been to see the number of fans that have been coming out and attending the game. With the public health orders permitting the number of fans this season.
Yeah, I mean, last year was a struggle. Like, again, we had next to no games. One team I think had 9, and the other had 3 games, so there really wasn't a whole lot of games. But even when you did have games, you were limited to, I think it was 2 per player or 1 per player or something like that. It was some number that really didn't warrant anyone wanting to come out. So unless you were mom and dad, you probably weren't getting anyone else coming out. And so now you can kind of, those have gone away, thankfully, and you can have anyone that wants to come, um, you know whatever the orders are, to be able to watch those games, which is great to have, both from having stands, people watching the games, but also, for many teams it's a key fundraiser. Right, paying $5 to come and watch a game, goes a long way to covering ice costs and covering ref costs, and make playing, in the U18 league, affordable for many families.
Just got a comment here from Ferdy Nellison, Brad. He says, unfortunately, I disagree with the stability of various teams in the MFHL. We need to address competitive parity of our league members. Teams cannot continue to depend on other regions' releases. The competitiveness is not balanced. The province needs to be restructured, and we need to face the fact and not be afraid to look at change. Your response to that, Brad, what Ferdy was saying.
Yeah, no, I know where Ferdy is going, and I think there is a movement to look at things. There's some natural things where, maybe decisions were made in the past about how where teams were situated, not teams were situated, but where boundaries were made, and that basically harmed certain teams and benefited others. And this has been something that's been on the agenda, and I don't know how many times, and various regions have brought these things up for discussion. It seems to go nowhere. I'm hoping this year that it actually does start to get addressed, maybe a little bit more in a more concrete fashion. Unfortunately, it took an issue with the boys to finally bring this to the forefront. On the female side, it's been raised for years. And one example might be the boundaries for where Central Plains, right? There's some natural boundaries there that just honestly don't make sense, and why girls are forced to go one way for another. Same with the Interlake, is another area where why girls are forced to go into Winnipeg when they may be closer to going to Interlake or even Eastman for that matter, depending on which side of the river they live on. So there's lots of examples of that where you could make some structural changes to make. I agree. There is some long term things that is it COVID related? Is it entertainment related? Is it cost related? Where some players aren't continuing on and choosing other options. That's not a boundary issue. That's sort of more of a fundamental issue as to why girls aren't coming back to play. But the fact is that we've got 8 teams and continue to have 8 teams. It'd be great if everybody had they're all within 5 points of each other. That's not going to happen. And but what can we do to maybe narrow that gap a little bit more? And to Ferdy's point, I'm not maybe relying on transfers having more. Some of those boundary changes may actually help. But I think other things need to be looked at in the future. But we do the best that we can with what we have presented in front of us, and I give kudos to those teams that do continue to offer a program within their region and for their girls and for a chance to go on to that next level.
Yeah, and when Pembina Valley, the Hawks were kind of owning the league and winning as many championships as they were, there came a time when teams like Central Plains, Yellowhead, teams like Westman started winning championships as well. So definitely seen the league get more competitive throughout the years in terms of you never know who's going to win the championship because the league has become so competitive. But just in terms of getting teams the best chance to have that stability, competitiveness every year, definitely going to be a thing that you guys are going to continue to work on, like you said. But, talking about the public health orders, how they've posed challenges this year to the league, or just in general, what challenges the league has faced in particular this season so far.
Honestly, Graeme, I'm not hearing anything where it's a challenge. I mean, I think people are just living with it. Those are requirements. I mean, I have heard of some teams where certain individuals, may have dropped from the team, in the sense of, hey, we're not willing to get vaccinated, either not willing to attend tryouts or made the team and then stepped away. So there's going to be cases like that because of the requirements to be vaccinated, or even to attend. So there's some of that that's happened. But I think we're kind of 2 years into this, and folks are sort of getting to this is what it is. We just got to live with it and work towards it. I mean, the good thing is, and teams are able to play. They're able to do their warm-ups. They're able to work with whatever restrictions may be in place within an individual rink, and do the best that they can. So I think teams are working through it. You've had some of those cases more at the beginning. I heard of certain players not happy or families not happy with certain restrictions on what's required to try out or even travel with the team, for that matter, in sort of that vaccinated, unvaccinated situation.
Yeah, and there's always going to be, some people who don't agree with the rules, but great to know that there hasn't been too many problems that have occurred for the league this season. Talking about, Thank the Stripes weekend this past weekend for Hockey Manitoba from Friday, December 3rd to Sunday, December 5th, what the league was doing to, promote Thank the Stripes.
Well, I think it's being part of what Hockey Manitoba. I mean, we didn't do anything specific for it. I mean, all of our games were within the Hockey Manitoba program for it. I know our media folks, being Ferdy, did put out some stuff about Thank the Stripes. So we're always very appreciative for all the work that they do, because it's they're athletes as much as our athletes on the ice, and to recognize the hard work that they have to put in to keep up with our players, and that, I mean, you can't say enough for the level of professionalism and athleticism that they all have in order to be in our officiate in our league. And it's nice to see ladies that have gone on to other areas, either in the Westerns or moving on to other activities, even on the male side, and doing it sort of the junior level as well.
A huge moment for Manitoba in terms of the women's game, hosting the Western Regional Women's U18 Championship back in November, at the very start of November. Just having as many MFHL players in the tournament, 11 players from the MFHL playing for Team Manitoba, how huge that was to just, see the majority of the Team Manitoba roster being players from your league, the MFHL.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like it's a great opportunity for them to showcase their talents and showcase what's available in Manitoba for players. And the fact that we were competitive, right? There were great games to watch. Anyone that attended that, it was phenomenal hockey to watch. For me, it's a little disappointing that some of those girls don't get selected for the next level. I truly believe we've got lots of girls in our program that can get on to the next level at the national stage, and we didn't quite make that cut for this time around, and hopefully next year there'll be something. So that part of that's disappointing. It's not anything that we've done. I think it's we continue to promote our girls and get individuals to watch them. To see, but it still is. It was amazing to watch the girls from our league be as competitive as anyone else in that showcase, in that event.
Yeah, and unfortunate when it ended the way it did for Team Manitoba, getting third place in round robin and then losing in the bronze medal game to rival province Saskatchewan, them being our neighbors. A lot of rivalry with Saskatchewan and a lot of sports here in Winnipeg. Well, one in particular, Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, which was awesome to see the Bombers pull through in that one. But just being able to showcase what Manitoba has in hockey at the female game as a whole by having, Portage La Prairie being the host place for this, big event earlier this year in November.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, kudos to the office and also to Ferdy and the individuals within Portage to pulling that off fairly quickly when the cancellation came out to that they weren't going to have nationals. How quickly they were able to pull that together and secure ice and secure the other Western branch members to come out, and make those teams feel comfortable coming to our province. And having this sort of events, because it really is crucial. And then you kind of saw the knock-on effect after that, and the fact that, hey, if Manitoba or the West can do it, then maybe in the East, right? And I think it was the weekend after, so Ontario and Quebec did something similar. Not quite as extensive as what was done by Manitoba, but I think how quickly they managed to pull that together. In order to have those teams around, and whether it be the officials and where are you staying and all that stuff that goes with it, all the logistics, and working around, it's a full schedule in that facility. Not easy to find time, and the fact that they're able to work with Stride Place in order to get the required ice in order to make it work is kudos to the organizers, to Ferdy and the entire organizing group that helped out.
Yeah, I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Like you said, giving kudos to them. Shout out to everyone that was involved in that process of getting that tournament together on short notice and being able to make it happen. A great event put on by Hockey Manitoba and just all the teams competing in that tournament for making it a fun time for everyone that came and watched. Some great U18 female hockey, the best U18s competing in Western Canada in that tournament in November. But last question before I let you go here, Brad. Obviously, you've been super busy this year with league meetings from what you've told me when we've had conversations over text. What's going to be the league meetings looking like for the rest of 2021, getting ready, getting prepped for the new year to hit 2022?
Yeah, I think that the next one is probably in closer to the beginning of January, February. We really, it's going to be either by email or maybe by Zoom. As we prepare for playoffs, right? If there's sort of last minute tweaks on the playoffs, with our league, it's fairly it runs fairly efficiently in the sense of it's pretty much the same thing over and over again. And it works. You have your 8 teams. What your playoff schedule. I think what we do is we sort of fine tune it to make it work for teams. So that'll be the next one, is really the planning around playoffs. And we know generally what the timing will be when we start and when we have to finish, and that. But sort of the nuances is sort of the next thing, and then we'll have our AGM after the league is done. For that. So yeah, a few things coming up, but nothing, won't take too much of our time. A lot of stuff you can, typically manage by email and quick phone calls and that kind of stuff. So it's, our league works fairly well in that way.
Yeah, keeping it simple and efficient for everyone involved. Brad, would love to have you on in the new year, closer to playoffs, to talk about what the playoffs are going to look like this year, as well as how the season is going at that point the next time we talk in the new year. But until then, you have a wonderful rest of your 2021. Have a wonderful Christmas as well. Have a happy holidays. And, thanks for coming on Coffee with Graeme again. Always great to
Yeah.
have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Graeme, and Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Thanks, Brad. You take care.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
And getting a Merry Christmas early. It's only December 7th, but it's coming up faster than we think, honestly. Just the way time flies. I say it all the time with just how crazy it is that it's already in the last month of 2021 here in December of 2021, which is just nuts. Felt like August just a moment ago, and then a blink of an eye, we're here in December, last month of the calendar year, which is 2021. But yeah, Brad Kirk joining the show here on this edition of the show. Of course, I want to wish Freddie Nelson also a very early Merry Christmas, as he says, Merry Xmas, boys. Thanks for tuning in this morning, Ferdy. Always great to have you watching our shows as well, and giving some input on what you think about the the competitive parity of the league is and how it needs to be addressed. Always great to hear you guys' input. If you guys want to comment stuff throughout this broadcast, be sure to do that. You can do it on any of our streaming platforms, here on our Facebook, ASTV Productions, on our YouTube at Amateur Sports TV. I think Twitter as well, comments would come through, but I'm not too sure. You could try it at Amateur Sports TV on Twitter if you want to put some input in on the episode as well. But yeah, we're going to go to a commercial break now here in the show. Coming up after the commercial break, we're going to continue talking some female hockey here on Coffee with Graeme. Number 14, assistant captain of the Notre Dame Hounds female U18 team in the Saskatchewan female U18 AAA Hockey League, Ryann Perrett, will be joining the show to talk about her season, her team's season so far, as well as her opportunity that she got, her experience competing in the Western Regional Women's U18 Championship back in November with her home province of Team Alberta. You're watching Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. Stick around for more after this commercial break.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you, with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Now is number 14, senior forward and assistant captain of this year's Notre Dame Hounds female U18 team and the Saskatchewan female U18 AAA Hockey League, Ryann Perrett. Ryan, been a while since we've talked here on the show, Coffee with Graeme. How are you doing on, in this interview? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing good. It's nice to have hockey back, and it's nice to be on the ice and playing games.
Yeah, for sure. And, is that probably one of the most exciting parts for you of this season and being your senior year of getting back into a normal routine?
Yeah, it's super fun, especially being able to travel for tournaments.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How many tournaments have you guys traveled to so far?
We went to 2 in Calgary. We went to the Firestarter in September and then the Chinook Edge Classic in October. And then we have Mandy coming up this weekend, which is here.
That's going to be exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
having the tournament, in Wilcox, Saskatchewan. Talking about, just how these tournaments have helped bring the team together, bonded the team so far this year.
Well, traveling is a really good bonding time for all of us, especially vets getting to room with new kids coming on the team, getting closer with everyone. It's a time where we're all together, where there's no school. We're there for hockey, so there's time for team building, team meals, long bus rides, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. One of the best parts of playing hockey is being able to go on the road with the team. Awesome. You guys are able to have the Mandy tournament coming up very soon in Wilcox, Saskatchewan, getting to host that. But, for you this season in your senior year, getting named assistant captain the first time you worn a letter on this Notre Dame Hounds team, just how special was that for you to get named a assistant captain?
Well, when I was named assistant captain, I was super excited. Me and the other 3 assistant captains, we don't have a captain. So our leadership group, we're all super close. So we were excited to work with each other. We all bring different assets to our team. And I think as a whole, we work really well together.
And speaking of you being an assistant captain, you were also an assistant captain at this year's Western Regional Women's U18 tournament for Team Alberta. What was that like, getting to not only represent your province at a tournament like that, playing against the best U18s across, Manitoba, BC, and Saskatchewan, but also, representing your country, your province by wearing an assistant captain letter?
Well, I was super fortunate to wear a letter this year, and I liked it a lot because I do not play in Alberta, although I'm from Alberta. So it was a nice way to get to know everyone. I got to know a lot of girls on a deeper level, I'd say, being a leader, because girls do come to you and you're seen as someone like people look up to in a way. I just thought it was a really good way to get to know everyone and to show my skills.
Yeah, and you definitely did that, leading the tournament, not only in goals with 6 goals in the tournament, but points as well. Just talk about, how pleased you were with your performance at, the highest level, going up against the best U18s across Western Canada.
Well, it definitely wasn't just because of me. I had a pretty good line. It was me, Emerson Jarvis, and Kiana McKibben. And Kiana plays with me at Notre Dame, and we were also on the line here. And our line worked really well together because I've played with Emerson on spring teams in the past and against her my whole life. And then Kiana, or I call her Kibbs, she plays with me here on the line, so we have that chemistry. So I was kind of in the middle of both of them, so it worked really well, I thought, and we really just clicked. And all of the goals were like from plays. It wasn't just skate end-to-end sort of thing, which you can't really do at that level. It was a lot of cycles, passes, all of that kind of stuff. It was really all group effort. It wasn't like very individual, I would say.
Yeah, and you and Kiana have definitely showed that chemistry this year, playing on the same line on the Hounds, as you both are tied in points this year, both tied for 4th in points in the Saskatchewan Female League. But, talking about the Western Regionals some more, you guys finished first place in the round robin with a perfect record of 3-0. Couldn't get it done in the gold medal game, as you guys lost in a close one to Team BC 3-2. You guys ended up getting silver. Just talk about, what that experience was like of, being able to make it as far as you guys did and to making it to the gold medal game and coming so close to winning it.
Well, obviously silver was a little bit of a disappointment, but honestly, after the game, our team wasn't too upset because we had a really good round robin. We won all of our games, and then we lost in overtime, which kind of just happens sometimes. It was 3-on-3. But we were also, I would say our team was the closest off ice. You could even tell. After warm-up, like during warm-up, we'd have our music going, singing. We'd play a couple games after, really got to know each other on a good level. And then even when we'd go to eat, our team would clean up our own plates. We'd help others. Like, I thought Team Alberta as a whole was probably one. We had really good manners. We worked really well together off the ice. And we, on the bus, like even girls were like, everyone was singing, having fun. But then as soon as we got to the rink, it was like game time, focus. I just thought since everyone was having fun, it really translated to the ice and everyone really liked each other.
Yeah, it's great to hear. And when you guys are able to be so close off the ice, able to, help others out, cleaning up, having good manners, going to translate to a really good product on the ice. And you guys certainly showed that at the Western Regional Women's U18 Championship tournament earlier this year in November. But, for you, taking away from the experience of not only playing for Team Alberta, but also playing against the best U18s in Western Canada, looking back at it now, what you took away from that experience as a whole?
Well, it was extremely exciting time in the summer when I got invited to that camp. I was a little bit nervous going in because there was only a couple of us from out west. A lot of them, most people from out west were from BC and like play with each other. And then I knew 2 people going into it pretty much that were on my team at least. And all of the East girls know each other. So it was a bit intimidating going into that camp. But I found also when we were having fun off ice, it was translating to on ice. And I just thought being there, you just learn so much about literally everything. Off ice, on ice, how to be a good person, how to be a teammate, nutrition, literally everything you learn something on.
Yeah, and like you said, seems like you enjoyed the tournament, just the whole experience as a whole, just by what you're saying. How you felt that's helped your game, after coming back from that tournament in your season with the Hounds in the Saskatchewan League as of late, after you came back from that tournament?
I definitely took some of the things that our teams did there back to our team. We have a lot of younger girls on our team as well. And so being at that higher level, I want to bring that back so that the girls can have the opportunity to get where I got as well. And I think it's going to help our team as a whole too, because at the regionals, we had 6 girls on our team there. So when we came back, the intensity level was that much better and that much higher. And all the girls, like our team watched us play each other, Team Sask versus Team Alberta. So they supported us that way. But I just thought when we came back, we brought the intensity that we found there and into our practices, and it's been showing up into our games.
Well, yeah, and as a whole in the season so far, you guys are 9-1 and 1-1 in 12 games. 1 loss, 1 OT win, 1 OT loss, and of course 9 wins. Just talking about the team this year as a whole, just the vets and the rookies, how you guys have been able to put together such a dominant season so far.
I truly think that our team, we have each other's back off the ice. And I've kind of been talking about off the ice a lot, but it really translates, and especially with girls, really translate to your game on ice. And we're super happy for each other. And we're getting to the point where, well, obviously everyone wants to score and everyone sometimes wants to credit, but we have a big sign room. I think it says it's amazing what you can achieve when no one cares who gets the credit. And so we really reference that a lot, because once you don't care who puts it in the net, you work as one instead of individual, and it honestly just gets you that much further.
Yeah, and you guys have definitely shown that. You guys aren't afraid to have many different scorers out there, because 13 different goal scorers on this year's team, 11 forwards and 2 defensemen. But talking about the defensive side of things, you guys only have 17 goals against this year. Just talk about how this team has been able to be so successful on the defensive side of things.
Well, obviously it starts with we have some pretty good goalies on our team, I'd say, and we aren't afraid to put our bodies out there. We do a lot of shot blocking practice and all of that, and just awareness. So if we keep them to the outside, their shots aren't going to go in. If they're going to shoot on the goal line, that's not going to go in. We have us forwards, D, and too good of goalies for that to go in, and we really just focus on being D side of the puck all the time, and really quick transitions, quick and go, up and go. We aren't afraid to cut the net. We aren't afraid to take it all the way against boards. We just get it out and use your teammates. Communication is a huge thing.
Yeah, And, this leads to my next question. Obviously, you guys got great goaltenders in Eva Filipova and Bailey Lindsay, who are among some of the best goalies in the league just by the numbers this season. But they also haven't faced as many shots as, many of the other teams in the league. Just talk about, those good habits that you guys have, like blocking shots, keeping it to the outside, how that's really helped you guys limit teams in the shot category this year.
So honestly, it starts in the offensive zone. We have strong F3, and that is part of the type of game we like to play. When we back check, like hard as you can through the middle. One on the puck, obviously support. Communication a lot between forwards and D. Like if D are going to step up, if forwards are going to start angling. But we like to put pressure on the puck super quick, and we're not afraid to step up on people, and we're not afraid to get beat because we know we have our team there for us. So we really kind of put ourselves out there and try and make the bigger plays. And we just completely trust each other. We completely trust each other, and I trust exactly what my D are going to do. They see the whole ice. If they think they should step, they'll step, and I'll fill in for them. We're really and for forwards, when we back check, it's not center wing, it's F1, F2, F3.
Yeah. And obviously that plays in a structure, obviously communication as well. Does, the things you guys are doing in games just lead to practice, the practices you guys have, the work you're putting in there, as well as just like you keep going back to the off ice stuff, like as tight as you guys are in the room?
Well, at practices, we have a lot of habits. And our coaches don't let us slip away at all. They're not afraid to call us out on things. So accountability is a huge thing. Obviously, when we practice one puck. Doesn't really matter if it goes down the ice. The drill will wait for you. We really just focus on practice how you play, because that's honestly how it is. We had bad practice on Monday, Friday, and we go and we don't play well, and we lost our game. We come back, reset, have a good practice. Next time, we win our game.
Yeah, and building good habits in practice is so key. It's, it's cliche as it sounds, but it is, so true. You practice how you play, and like you said, you guys have been doing just that this season. But for you this year, 12 games played, 6 goals, 11 assists, 17 points. You lead the league in assists. Obviously you're playing with some great line mates, one of them being Kiana McKibben. But just talk about, your game this year from a personal standpoint, how you feel like it's gotten to that next level this season.
So honestly, when I was in grade 10, I definitely was more of a goal scorer. And then last year we didn't really get to play, but this year I find myself, I'm not necessarily the goal scorer. I make plays. As you can see, I have a lot more assists this year. And I trust all of my teammates, and they're all decent enough to get the puck in the net. So I personally think I've definitely grown in an aspect where I play 200 feet of the ice, forwards, defense. I'm not focused on me scoring. I'm not focused. It's just more so the team. Or, for example, on our power play, we have a really successful power play. And I could be that third person to touch the puck, but I won't get a point, and that's fine to me as long as I'm making those right plays and it's leading to where we've gotten.
Obviously, the on-ice product has been exceptional from you and the team this season. But talk about your off-season, what you really focused on to, touch up, get better on, fine-tune things before this season started.
So obviously in the middle of the summer, I did have my Hockey Canada camp that I attended. So before that, I wasn't really working on killing my body in the gym. It was mostly keep your cardio up, obviously work out all the time, but not kill myself. I wanted to stay where I was in strength, and it wasn't about trying to get a bunch way better. But definitely more cardio on ice stuff. I did a lot more on ice skating and kind of those things, and rest days were super important. I also had a bit of an injury, so I was kind of taking it a bit slow and trying to get that better at the same time. But definitely just being in the gym, getting as much ice as I possibly can, but also rest is super important. And I also found what I eat and put into my body plays a big role.
Yeah, and those are going to be good habits for you when you make that next step and go play university hockey next season for sure. Great that you're, putting a lot of emphasis on those little things that make a hockey player that much better. But, talking about it, you guys have had so much success this season, but the one team that you guys have struggled against is the Regina Rebels. Lost to them 4-2 in your most recent matchup against them on November 30th. And in the first matchup of the year was a close game as well, a 1-0 loss in OT on October 19th. Talk about, how the Rebels are able to match up with you guys so well and have been able to have that success against you guys this season.
Honestly, when we've played them, we haven't played good at all. We've made small mental mistakes, and we aren't really proud of how we play them. We know we have more in us. They definitely push the pace. They're a quick team, move pucks fast. They're super physical, which definitely is good because our team is physical as well. So we just honestly haven't really been playing well. That first game, we were super tired. I went to double overtime. And then this past game, we had not the best practices leading up to it. We weren't mentally there. So it was on us, I'd say. But they definitely brought it to us. They were ready to play and we weren't. So
Yeah, and that just goes back to building those good habits in practice. Like you said, when you guys haven't been able to do that, that's when you guys have struggled, and gonna struggle like that when you guys play a very good team in the Regina Rebels, who are currently in first place by 1 point so far this year. But, coming up for you guys, obviously, you got the Mandy Schwartz tournament in Wilcox, Saskatchewan, but you got one more game in the regular season in the year of 2021 coming up next Wednesday on the road against Weyburn, talking about, the upcoming Mandy Schwartz tournament, as well as that, game against Weyburn, what you guys are looking to focus on building heading into the new year.
So definitely in the past years, those games after Mandy have been super hard on us, especially we're going to have 2 days rest. We really just need to mentally be there because a lot of the times we're not. Mandy is a super exciting time on campus for us. It's probably one of the best weekends of the year. Whole school is there. Super fun. Means a lot. There's a lot of meaning behind this tournament. It's not just to play hockey. Mandy herself, that was a Hound. We have a lot of respect for her, and we want to honor her and play well for her. And we just need to make sure that this week we come ready and we don't get too overwhelmed with excitement. I need to remember we're here for hockey and to focus on that.
Yeah, well, best of luck to you guys in that Mandy Schwartz tournament, as well as that game next Wednesday coming up against Weyburn. Looking to continue the great season that you guys are. Number 14, senior forward and assistant captain of the Notre Dame Hounds, Ryann Perrett, joining the show here on this Tuesday edition of Coffee with Graeme. Ryan, thanks for taking the time, and best of luck, like I said, to you and the team coming up this week.
Thank you.
And Ryann Perrett, number 14, assistant captain of the Notre Dame Hounds in the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League. And want to clarify something. I misspoke. I said that Ryan leads the league in assists. She does not. She has 11 assists. She leads her team in assists, not the league. So just some clarification on that. But just going to show you guys doing something new here on the show on Coffee with Graeme. The standings in the Saskatchewan Female League, as well as the scores from the past week. So I'm going to show you guys the scores first and then show you guys the standings. So going with looking at it in November 30th, my apologies. November 30th, the Regina Rebels ended up beating the Notre Dame Hounds 4-2 on December 2nd. The Swift Current Wildcats lost to the Notre Dame Hounds 5-3. And then looking at the other games that were played in the past week in the Saskatchewan Female League. Just my apologies, guys. There we go. So on December 4th, the Saskatoon Stars won in a close one over the Swift Current Wildcats 3-2. The Prince Albert Northern Bears ended up shutting out the Weyburn Gold Wings in their first matchup against them, and as many as 2 days, 4-0. And then on December 5th, the Prince Albert Northern Bears beating the Weyburn Gold Wings 5-1, and then the Swift Current Wildcats winning in a close one against the Battleford Sharks 1-0 on December 5th to end off the past week of action in the Saskatchewan Female League. Looking at the standings now, gonna show it to you guys now. Just gotta get them to pop up here. There we go. So the Regina Rebels, as mentioned in this interview, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in the interview with Ryann. The Regina Rebels are first place, 9-1. 1-2, 31 points. Notre Dame, they are 9-1, 1-1, 30 points, 1 point behind the Regina Rebels. And then the Swift Current Wildcats in third place at 8-6, 2-0. 28 points on the season. And then there's a bit of a drop off after that. The Saskatoon Stars 7-6 and 1 on the season with 23 points, and then a bit of a drop off after that as well. In terms of the separation in the standings between these teams, the Battleford Sharks in fifth place at 5-10, 1-1 with 18 points. And then the Prince Albert Northern Bears are at 5-8, 0-1 with 15 points. And then a huge drop off after that from the second last place team in the league and the Northern Bears to the Weyburn Gold Wings, who are 1-12, 0-1 with 4 points, sitting in last place. From now on here on Coffee with Graeme, I'm going to be showing you guys score reports and standings from the leagues that we cover here on the show. So leave your thoughts in the comments down below if you guys enjoy that idea that we're going to move forward with doing here on Coffee with Graeme. Coming up after the commercial break, we're going to end off this show with some Off the Wall with Cody, a segment that I do here every Tuesday edition of Coffee with Graeme with ASTV Productions, color commentator. He sometimes does some play-by-play, but Cody Wall joining his segment once again this week, Off the Wall with Cody, to break down the past weekend of games we saw here on ASTV Productions between the Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy Buffaloes U17 program and the Notre Dame Hounds U17 male prep program as well. You're watching Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. Stick around for more Coffee with Graeme, Off the Wall with Cody Wall, after this commercial break. And there's nothing I love better on a Tuesday morning than talking with Cody Wall on his segment Off the Wall with Cody here on Coffee with Graeme. Cody, great to have you on the show once again this week, man, to talk about 3 games that we were supposed to see here on the network. 2 games we ended up broadcasting between the Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy U17 Buffaloes and the Notre Dame Hounds U17 team. But how you doing, man, on this week's edition of the segment? Great to have you on once again, Cody.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Just like every week, it's a pleasure to come on and talk the games that we were able to cover. And, well, one of the games that unfortunately we weren't able to cover just due to the weather.
Now, I gotta ask you something, Cody. I know in the group chat on Sunday, you sent a picture of a donut. Did Seth pull through for the boys this time and on the broadcast crew when I wasn't there? Is that what I was looking at?
Yeah. Seth finally pulled through and bought the guys some donuts.
It hurts. I wasn't there for it. Of course, just some backstory to why I wasn't with those guys is because I got sent home. Didn't want to be stuck in Morris. As nice as it is, bunking with Glenn on the weekends, I would rather be home because I had a lot to do yesterday on Monday. But great to know that you guys were able to be safe and unfortunately not making it to the game, but safety definitely the biggest priority in a situation like the snowstorm that was posing on Sunday. But let's get into it, Cody. The Buffaloes, 8-1 loss on Friday, 7-1 loss on Saturday, 5-4 loss on Sunday, the closest game of the weekend for them that we didn't see. But talking about that Friday night game, 8 goals scored by the Notre Dame Hounds. The Buffaloes not generating much offensively, getting outshot heavily, giving up 52 shots. Talk about, what the Hounds were doing first off to make it so difficult for the Buffaloes in that Friday night game.
Yeah, the Hounds really came out and felt like it came out a little slow on that first couple minutes of the first period on Friday, but they really just gained momentum as time went on and really just started suffocating the Buffalo and really not letting them get any time and space out there to generate really any offense. Remember in the shots, they were only Pilot-Mound only registered under 20 shots in that Friday night affair. Usually that's a fairly low amount of shots compared to the close to 50 that Notre Dame registered on Miles Gordon and Cameron Perrier in that Monday game. Really just in all facets of the game were dialed in. And other than that first couple minutes, really showed what they were made of in that game.
Yeah. And, a huge thing for Notre Dame was just their speed. Faster than the Buffaloes, winning so many puck races, the vast majority of the puck races, all game long on Friday and in that Saturday game as well. I'm not sure what happened on Sunday because we didn't see it, of course, but just talking about how the speed from Notre Dame was causing so many problems for the Buffaloes.
Yeah, Notre Dame definitely had some quick players. One guy that was quite notable throughout this weekend for Notre Dame was number 9, Nicholas Karsmeyers. He had registered a number of points throughout the weekend, and especially on Friday, kind of was I would say would be the game he really stood out the most. I thought was on Friday. He was playing really physical for a smaller guy, but really was playing quite crafty as well. He'd get down into the offensive zone and dig in the corners, and often, like you said, would come out with the puck. Notre Dame would come out with the puck and was able to make some passes around the perimeter till they found a nice shot to get on net. And then from there on Friday, they really were just so hungry for rebounds. And that kind of was the downfall, I would say, for the most part of the Buffaloes is just there was some trouble maybe with some rebound control in that game.
Yeah, and when you have trouble with rebound control, you want as a goaltender, you want your team in front of you to take away that guy who, is going to put away that rebound, that guy in the slot, those high quality areas. But the Buffaloes just weren't doing that. Where do you think that, came down to in that Friday night game, especially for the Buffaloes, leaving so many players open in those high quality areas?
Well, one thing I had talked to Rick McConnell about after that Friday night game was he had said that he thought the effort level wasn't where it needed to be. He understood that, coming in, Notre Dame at that time was second place, now have taken over first place in the league. They're a really good team. So, you don't expect to come into every game and, you're going to win it. But talking to Rick McConnell, he really expected his team to at least show up. And that was something he didn't think they really did on that Friday game. They did come out fast in that first 5-10 minutes of the first period, but after that, they kind of fell flat a little bit going forward in the second and third.
Yeah, and it's about that consistent effort level, and Rick McConnell did not get that from that group in that game on Friday night. But, it was looking, optimistic for the Buffaloes in a way in that Saturday game. They were only down 1-0 after the first period. They tied it up at 1-1 in the second period of that game, but then gave up 6 unanswered after that for the rest of the game. Just talking about, what went wrong for the Buffaloes in that game on Saturday for them to, let it, get out of hand as it did.
Yeah, Saturday was a lot closer. I mean, you look at the number that was put up, you'd think it was very similar. I think the first 2 periods, like you said, were quite good. It was an improvement for the Buffalo. That first period, you did mention they had gone down a goal. And then I believe going into the third, you're right, they did tie it up at one point in the second. And then I believe going into the third, it was 3-1 with, opportunity for the Buffalo if they could get a quick goal going into that or early on in that third period to maybe make it a game. But it seemed like in that third period, the Notre Dame Hounds really just kind of put their foot on the accelerator pedal, and the Buffalo didn't really seem to match it. I think they did seem to kind of go back to their ways of not being first on pucks. There was a period of time where, you saw guys like Carlos Deleon. He was, wheeling up the ice. He was doing everything he could to, possess the puck. It was something that I maybe felt fell off a little bit in the third watching them. They didn't win many races to the puck. Often felt like if there was a puck available, they'd almost, instead of doing a quick stop and start, they'd do a little loop and kind of pull themselves out of the play. And I think that was a contributing factor to a bit of their downfall on Saturday.
And you do also got to wonder if, and it could very well be true that the amount of injuries the Buffaloes had coming into this week, and of course, losing Jordan Kustermans to a nasty looking injury on Friday night game didn't help, because that guy brings so much speed to their lineup and drives the net with, so much effort out there, as we've seen this season, having so many players out on the forward group side of things. Do you feel like that was kind of one of the reasons why the Buffaloes might have ran out of steam, was because they just didn't have as many bodies as they are used to having at times?
Yeah, definitely can be a big factor in how a game like that ends up going. They were missing some notable players, like you mentioned, Jordan Kustermans, Izzy Amy, Jack Smith. Sorry, not Zach. Jack Smith. Another player that I believe was missing was Matthew Floyd, another forward that they had who, just could contribute. And even if those guys aren't necessarily contributing on the score sheet, those are all guys who are taking up ice time, and you maybe don't have all the top 2 lines rolling as quickly, maybe giving them a little extra time to rest on the bench, and gives Coach Rick McConnell a couple more options to mix and match with the lines if the situations do present itself. Just missing key guys are definitely a contributing factor, I think, in why they maybe had a subpar weekend at times.
Yeah, and I talked to Last Constant last Thursday, and he said like having guys out of the lineup is nothing new for this team. Like, we've seen it many times this year, but when you're missing so many high quality players like a Jack Smith, Izzy Amy, who's physical and can get it done in that way for the team, sparking the team with his physicality. A guy like Jordan Kustermans, who's just gotten better and better as the season has gone along. He is the most recent player to get injured on this team. The team almost had a scare with Sam Takahashi going out. Thank goodness for them that he didn't, because he's a player that ended up putting up a goal and 2 assists in that Sunday game, which we'll get into in just a bit here. But the number of injuries, we're starting to pile up for Pilot-Mound. And when you're going up against a team like Notre Dame, as highly touted, as highly skilled as they are, who just took first place in the CSSHL U17 prep division after this week, it's going to, be troublesome for Pilot-Mound, and it was exactly that in those first 2 games. But, talking about Pilot-Mound some more in that Saturday game before we talk more about Notre Dame, just seems like the bad habits of, not connecting on their passes, whether they were in the team's feet, behind them, or just forcing passes that weren't there. Just those bad habits that also led to breakdowns as well, evident for the Buffaloes in that game on Saturday.
Yeah, on Saturday, I felt like there was times where they had made strides from Friday's game, where it was maybe a little bit harder to watch. On Saturday, second period I thought was a big improvement from where they were at the day before on Friday. And on the second period, they were making good passes. For the most part, they were kind of playing a bit more of that Notre Dame game where they were able to get to pucks, and they were making their way to some of those 50-50 chances. And a couple of times, I know Zane Price had some 2 or 3 quality chances that, if somebody just got a tip of a stick on it, would have got past the Notre Dame goalie. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And things kind of, once it got to the third period, went back to how it was on Friday, where they maybe weren't winning the puck battles, winning the races to the puck, and maybe weren't playing as aggressive as they could. And then when they did kind of get out of hand, it seemed like tempers started to flare, and that's when the refs started calling a couple of more penalties and putting the Hounds on the power play. Even if they don't score every time, they're going to generate momentum, and that was something that they managed to do throughout that Saturday game, is when they were able to get chances to generate some momentum, they executed.
Yeah, and the Buffaloes, some good habits shown in that second period, a high level of compete shown by them from the rest of the periods that we saw this weekend. But talking about Notre Dame, just that speed started to take over as that game progressed. A lot of times in periods they'd have, a lot of offensive zone possession where the Buffaloes couldn't really touch the puck because of, Notre Dame's creativity with the passing, their speed, and just their overall game in the offensive zone was just superb. But talking about, you think Notre Dame punching it into a second gear was maybe one of the reasons why the Buffaloes, started to have that game slip away from them, and we started seeing more of those bad habits on Saturday.
Yeah, it did feel like they kind of kicked it up a gear a bit in that third period. And as we kind of mentioned before, Notre Dame having, Pilot-Mound having some key injuries and missing guys on the forward group. Like I said before, it reduces some of the minutes, or it makes some of the players who don't normally play that many minutes play more minutes than they're used to, and maybe gets them out of their comfort zone. So when a team is kind of cranking it up, as Notre Dame did, having a short bench probably isn't always the best solution in a game like that. And it was something I kind of thought I saw happen or come into play a little bit there was some of the fatigue, maybe as Notre Dame was able to roll all their lines and get guys fresh out there and keeping them moving quick.
Yeah, and the Hounds, like on that second goal, they got a goal off of a tip, good bounce going their way. And that kind of was the beginning of the end for the Buffaloes in that game, but definitely in a tough position, like we've talked about, Cody, with them missing, as many key players as we've already brought up. But talking about the Hounds, their power play is absolutely fantastic. Throughout the weekend when we saw it, especially Saturday, because we only saw them once on the power play in that Friday game. But just that ability for them to, draw Pilot-Mound players in with puck poise, use their speed on the power play and also make quick passes, making passes, cross ice, doing so many things with their passes, talking about what impressed you the most about this Notre Dame power play.
Yeah, their cycle game, even when they were 5-on-5, looked real good. And then once they were able to get to the power play where they had a little extra time and space, they really, there was a couple times where they had cycled the puck around the offensive zone and with their quick passes, able to pull some of the penalty killers for Pilot-Mound out of position and open up some shooting lanes from the D, especially on the power play. That's where it seemed like a lot of their shots were going to come from, kind of from that umbrella type setup where they'll cycle it around the offensive zone and then send it up to the defenseman right at the blue line to rip a shot. And then seemed like they had a lot of guys crashing the net from there, creating a lot of problems for the goaltender vision-wise, and then, gobbling up those rebounds if they did pop up.
Yeah, and, Notre Dame, like you said, and like I said before, we'll just put it, they were superb on the man advantage in that game on Saturday. But Sunday was a step in the right direction for this Buffaloes team. I'm not sure what happened. I haven't had a chance to look at the game that was pre-recorded that Pilot-Mound put up on their YouTube page, on their website, but a 5-4 loss for the Buffaloes to end off the weekend with how it went before that. You got to take that as a moral victory, even though they lost. They won a period. They scored 2 goals to Notre Dame's 1 in that second period, bringing the game within 1. And, of course, tying them in that third period, 1 goal apiece for each team. Talk about where you think the Buffaloes really made strides in that game to be able to compete with this Notre Dame team some more.
Yeah, you know what? That Sunday game that we weren't able to call live, I really think just looking at the game sheet and knowing the Buffalo, the Hounds scored a fairly early goal, 26 seconds into the first period, and then they registered another goal 15 minutes into the first period. But I like the fact that the Buffalo showed a lot of fight in that and managed to get a goal of their own. The Hounds managed to get a third goal in that first period, but them getting 1 in that first period really shows the fight that they were kind of all systems go. And looking at the shots throughout the periods were very even as well. That's something we didn't see from Pilot-Mound was that shot total. So really, I think there was they played a good game and showed a lot of growth from earlier in the weekend, where at times it felt like they maybe when times got tough, some guys maybe packed it in a bit. That's not the case for the Sunday game. They fought right to the end. Like you said, second period, they outscored the Hounds and kept them to only 1 goal. Definitely a lot of moral victories in that. Little little victories that you can take from that game if you're Pilot-Mound and if you're Rick McConnell.
Yeah, for sure. And if the big guns were going to come through for Pilot-Mound, even though they lost that game, they certainly did. Last constant, a goal and an assist in that game. Sam Takahashi, who's been one of the team's best forwards, had a goal and 2 assists, had the most points out of any Buffalo player in that game. Of course, a player that's been playing great on the back end this season for the team, Ryann Perrett with a goal. And Emerson Sheward, a player that you've given a lot of praise to, and rightfully so, because he's kept improving with the goal in that game as well. Just nice to see that, the Buffaloes able to get that depth in that game to, keep it a close one.
Yeah, it definitely, like I said before, a lot of moral victories from that where you got guys who are deeper in the lineup contributing, guys who, have made strides throughout the year, kind of getting back to that good energy and good playing style around.
Yeah. And, of course, Cameron Perrier got his first start of the weekend, faced 46 shots, 41 saves. Obviously tough to come in when your team's struggling and is undermanned, but Cameron Perrier, how impressed, people in attendance and just the Buffalo's coaching staff must have been with him with just the performance he gave, making 41 stops on 46 shots a game.
Yeah, Cameron Perrier, from what we've seen, he's looked good every time we've seen him. I know he's a goalie that at times maybe hasn't played as much as some of the other guys, just looking at the games played, but it seems like he's always in there and he's always fighting every time you see him in the net. He had registered, I believe, the first regular season win for the Buffalo earlier this year, kind of getting that momentum started for the season. But yeah, every time I've seen him, I think he's looked good. He's been able to, when facing a high quantity of shots, he's usually able to turn a fair amount of them away. Just kind of looking at his save percentage and goals against, he does, of the 3 goalies that U17 Buffaloes have, he does have the best save percentage and goals against average. So it just kind of shows that when he does get into games, he's able to make a difference.
Yeah, and definitely nice to know the Buffaloes have a third goalie to go to. Obviously, Kean Hodgins, usually the guy that is going to get a lot of starts when he's in the lineup, but he's out right now. Miles Gordon, we know what he's able to do. Had a rough weekend, but Cameron Perrier came in for relief for Miles Gordon in that Friday night game, and of course getting after Gordon let in 7 goals, and of course Perrier getting the start on Sunday's game, the final game for the Buffaloes on the weekend. But getting into the players that you really took notice of, I know what you're going to answer with for Notre Dame, but not only a guy like Kirk, who had a very strong weekend, like you mentioned, but guys like Gabriel Bugeaud, number 11, who registered points in every single game, along with a guy like Aiden Murray. So many great players for this team. A guy like Taven Schlatt, who had a strong weekend as well. But who would be that player that impressed you the most from Notre Dame this past weekend?
Yeah, I would say player that impressed me the most from Notre Dame, I would say, I didn't mind Ryan Zabchuk out there. I thought he had throughout the weekend had a really good game, able to pick up a couple points. I know there was a period of time where we had kind of thought maybe he was diving a little bit on one of the plays, but overall, I thought he had a fairly good weekend.
Yeah, and diving or not, taking that away, that kid can play the game of hockey. We'll give him credit for that there, Cody. But from the Buffaloes, obviously a lot of negatives, but finishing off the weekend very strongly in that, even though they lost a lot of moral victories, like we said, like we talked about, only losing 5-4 and being in a close game with this Hounds team, proving that they can play with them. But throughout the weekend, from what we saw and what you saw on the stat sheet, who impressed you the most from the Buffaloes throughout this weekend?
There was two players I thought really that impressed me. Both players that, Sam Takahashi had registered points throughout the weekend. One guy who maybe didn't register a lot of points, but I thought his effort level was above most others throughout this weekend, and that was Carlos Deleon. So kind of a twofer there. Sam Takahashi and Carlos Deleon were kind of my two guys, I thought, for Pilot-Mound, who had the most consistent efforts out there.
Yeah, for sure. Carlos Deleon, I've been a big fan of him this year, Cody. His ability to get a lot of shots on net, good shot as well, and his ability to play the game two ways. Definitely a player that, like we've talked about with so many players on this team, even though they are not getting the results they want as a team, certain players on this team are improving as the year is going along here. And also want to give a congratulations to Rockland Hay for registering his first career goal with the Buffaloes this past weekend. Cody Wall, on Off the Wall with Cody this week on Coffee with Graeme, joining the show to break down the Buffaloes U17 program from Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy and the Notre Dame Hounds U17 male prep program here on this week's edition of the segment. Cody, you take care, and until next time, we'll see you then, bud.
All right, we'll see you again then, and thanks for having me on again there, Graeme.
Of course, it's always a pleasure, Cody, of course, with this being your segment. And Cody Wall joining Coffee with Graeme here on this Tuesday morning on his segment Off the Wall with Cody. Of course, the Buffaloes, all three of their programs this past weekend was the last time that we're going to see any of the teams play at home here on ASTV Productions. But I'll let you guys know about the upcoming weekend of games that these teams have in the academy. All three teams in the academy playing their final games, or maybe a single game. I'm gonna tell you guys in just a moment the number of games these teams have this weekend coming up, but it's going to be the last time all three of these programs will be in action for this year of 2021. Looking to end off the year with a bang and build some confidence heading into the new year, of course, of 2022. But starting off with the U17s, they'll be on the road this weekend in Calgary, playing at the Edge School and Winsport Olympic Park. Starting off on Friday at 5:30 p.m. for them, they'll be playing the International Hockey Academy at Winsport Olympic Park in Calgary, Alberta. Then on Saturday, December 11th, they have two games, one in the morning, one in the afternoon for the U17s. They'll be going up against the Edge School at the Edge's rink, Edge School, at 10 a.m. And then they'll have a rematch against International Hockey Academy at 3:15 p.m. Later that day at Winsport Olympic Park. And on Sunday, they'll end off their final game of the 2021 year with a game against the Edge once again at Edge School in Calgary. Looking at the U15 program now, the U15 prep male program for the Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy Buffaloes. They will only have one more game here in 2021. Of course, they'll be looking to avenge their 10-2 loss, not avenge it, but come out stronger in this game coming up on Sunday at 3 p.m. Against the Central Plains Capitals at the BDO Center for the Community. The last time the Buffaloes were in action was for the U15s was actually a while ago, November 28th, as they did have the weekend off. This past weekend, they played St. George last time out and lost 10-2 in Calgary, Alberta. But they'll be back in Manitoba this weekend coming up on Sunday in Portage, Manitoba at the BDO Center for the Community to play the Central Plains Capitals for their final game of the year. And actually, this is new. They've added some stuff to the U15, so they won't be in action for the final time. They'll be playing on the 17th, 18th, and 19th of December. They'll be in Caronport, Saskatchewan, next weekend as well. So this won't be their final weekend of games next week. This weekend coming up. They'll be playing the Calgary North Stars, the Canadiens Volvo team from Edmonton, and the Winnipeg Bruins Brown team. And there's going to be a playoff game as well. So they're playing in a tournament, depending on how they do. Who they match up with is to be determined, but they'll play 2 games next weekend on December 17th against the Calgary North Stars at 9 a.m. and then against the Canadiens Volvo team from Edmonton at 6:30 p.m. Next weekend, and then they'll play on December 18th as well, of course, against the Winnipeg Bruins Brown team at 2 p.m. on December 18th, and then on December 19th, it is to be determined, but they will be playing a game, depending on the time, depending on the team, they will be playing on December 19th as well. So depending on what happens in that game, they might have some more games after that. But the U15's in action this weekend coming up against the Central Plains Capitals. The last time these teams played was back in September on the 26th, and Central Plains took that one in a close one, 6-4. And then just to let you guys know about the U18 program, the U18 female program, the last program I'll talk about before sending it to one final commercial break. They will be playing only one more game this year, as they'll be going up against the Yellowhead Chiefs at the Shoal Lake Multiplex in Shoal Lake, Manitoba, coming up on Saturday at 1 p.m. So, best of luck to all the teams in the academy coming up this weekend, hoping that they can come out with some positives, and for the U17s and U18s, building some confidence heading into the new year with some possible wins. The U18s looking to get a single win against the Yellowhead Chiefs, as that's the only game they'll play. And for the U15s, since they got more games added to the schedule now, they'll be playing, in that game against Central Plains, looking to build some confidence as they'll be heading to Caronport, Saskatchewan, the weekend after to play in the tournament for their final game, their final action of this 2021-2022 season. In 2021, of course, they still got a whole year of 2022 to play their games coming up in the new year. So after the commercial break, I'm going to end off with some final words, close off the show here on Coffee with Graeme. Stick around for more after this commercial break, everybody.
Welcome to Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot-Mound Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
Welcome back to Coffee with Graeme, everybody. Hopefully you guys have had a wonderful Tuesday morning up until this point. Thanks for tuning into today's episode. I want to start off by thanking you, the viewer, for tuning in on this Tuesday morning, or whenever you tune into this edition of Coffee with Graeme. Of course, this episode will forever be up on our all over our platforms, across our platforms, on our Facebook at ASTV Productions, I believe on our Twitter as well. It'll be up forever on Amateur Sports TV, on our website as well at astvproductions.com, and on our YouTube as well at Amateur Sports TV. Want to thank the guests who joined today's episode for taking the time out of their Tuesday morning and joining the show. In MFHL President Brad Kirk, Ryann Perrett, number 14, an assistant captain for the Notre Dame Hounds in the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League, as well as Cody Wall for joining his weekly segment here on Tuesday morning, Off the Wall with Cody, to talk about the Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy Buffaloes U17 male prep programs, games against the Notre Dame Hounds U17 male prep program that we saw here on the network. Of course, only seeing two due to that third game, that final game they played this weekend. Unable to be able to broadcast that one due to just the roads being so bad, us not being able to get there. But if you guys want to check out that game, be sure to check it out on Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy's website, as well as on Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy's YouTube. They pre-recorded the game, so they put it up afterwards for everyone to still watch that game. Just no commentary and the other stuff we usually do with our broadcast here on ASTV, because we weren't at the game, to put it plain and simple. But also a special thanks to the sponsors of today's edition of Coffee with Graeme in Evolve Green, Case Financial Group, Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, AETI, and Tovi Hockey for sponsoring this edition of the show. Got some news to tell you guys, of course. Rise and Shine Manitoba, another show I host here on the network. Manitoba show airing tomorrow. This week's edition of the show airing, of course, as always, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, Manitoba time. Gonna have some great guests on that show. Harry Siemens on the Farm Report to talk about some agriculture. Adam Wedlake of Basketball Manitoba, gonna be awesome to catch up with him, as well as Gordy Tummelson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, will be joining that show as well to talk about the past weekend of games, the week of practice that the team is gonna have coming up, the marketing for the academy, as well as what the goalies are going to be working on this week, and the upcoming games for all three teams in the academy this week coming up. Also going to have another segment of my segment, Graham's Opinion, on tomorrow's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Going to be giving my opinion on the Jets, how they've looked since the last time I talked about them. They've been looking, pretty nice lately, winning 2 games in a row against New Jersey, and most notably against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Always a good day when you're able to beat a team like Toronto with just how obnoxious their fans are. But I'll get into, the Jets, maybe talking about Pilot-Mound as well. And, the U17s their past weekend, breaking that down. Going to have a rant for you guys as well in that one. And going to talk about the past weekend of CFL games and give my Grey Cup prediction as well. So going to be loaded Graham's Opinion segment on Rise and Shine Manitoba tomorrow morning. Also coming out tomorrow, if you guys didn't know, on the Prospect Show, I've started a new segment called Player Analysis, where I take some game footage of a guest that I've had on the show and, break it down for you guys, break it down why these players are as good as they are, the things that they do really well. I was going to put it out yesterday on the episode as usual, but I was unable to get the footage out for you guys in time. So I just thought I'd take a bit more time, and going to be releasing that segment separately this week, tomorrow on Wednesday. Not sure what time yet, but stay tuned on our social media, on our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram as well at ASTV Productions, to see when that segment, this week's edition of it, will drop. I'll be breaking down the game of 2 guests I had on yesterday's show from Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, and Carson Carroll's number 2 defenseman and an assistant captain, as well as another assistant captain on the team, and Gage Sutherland, number 3. Those two play together quite a bit, so going to be fun to to break down their game for you guys in player analysis that was supposed to go on the prospect show, but it didn't yesterday. It's going up on Wednesday now, like I said. But as for when you guys can watch Coffee with Graeme next, the next edition of the show will be airing on Monday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. You guys can catch it live on our Facebook, on our Twitter, and on our website as well at astvproductions.com. Our Twitter, of course, Amateur Sports TV, and our Facebook, ASTV Productions. Going to be releasing the guest list either tomorrow night or on Thursday morning. So stay tuned for that all across our social media platforms on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to see who those guests for Thursday night's edition of Coffee with Graeme at 8 p.m. will be. You guys can catch that one all across our platforms as well, like I mentioned before. But yeah, that's going to do it, folks, for me on this edition of Coffee with Graeme. I've been your host, as always, Graeme Forsyth, signing off now. Until I see you guys on Thursday, have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Stay safe out there. Stay warm as well, because like I always say, it is getting pretty darn cold here, especially in Manitoba. So if you do go out, bundle up, stay as warm as possible. Safety is the biggest thing, and staying warm falls into, keeping safe, because you guys don't want to, get any hypothermia or stuff like that. Don't underdress. If you're able to stay inside, do that. I know not everyone is able to. They got to go out to work and go to school. But if you are going to work, you got to make that walk to school. Be sure to bundle up, folks. Stay safe out there. And until Thursday night, 2 days from now, everybody, I'll see you then. Graeme Forsyth of Coffee with Graeme, saluting to you all and peacing out on this Tuesday morning. Have a good one, everybody.